There we go. So, I'm Carmen. I know a lot of you guys. If you don't know me, I am a full stack developer at Hobby Lobby, and I have lost my mouse again. So if you see it, please tell me. I think I got it. I wonder if I'm going the wrong way. Oh my gosh. Anyway, there we go. So, like I said, I'm Carmen. I know a lot of you guys. If you don't know me, I'm a full stack developer at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to talk to you today about mapping the internet. So this is me. You can follow me on Twitter, or check out my blog, or the project Margie Map that I'm going to talk to you about today. Before I really get into how I mapped the internet, which is kind of a misnomer, and we'll get into that in just a second, I want to tell you about why it's so important, in case you guys don't already know, which I bet you do. So the internet is kind of a big deal. Can you raise your hand if you've been online today? I expect to see everybody's hand up, really. So this is kind of unfair because we're at a developer group, but let's take this a little further. Were you online this weekend? Again, everybody's hand goes up. So that just goes to show where we're at today with the internet just being in pretty much every facet of our lives, because everything we do is online. We work online, we do our school online, we go on Netflix, we go on social media, and kind of what I want to talk about is how not being online, because this is more common than we realize. What I want to talk about is that not being online is more than not having seen Stranger Things, or more than not being able to post your pictures on Instagram. It's more than that. Because if you aren't online, where are you? So I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in, I think it was 2012, Bill Nye was speaking at, I think it was Columbia, and he fainted. He's giving his presentation just like this, and he faints. And what was really interesting about, he was fine, so don't worry, this was 2012, so he's okay. What was really interesting about that was everybody started tweeting it. And so there were all these news articles that came out that, and this is what they said, they're like, if no one tweets it, does it happen? And we can probably all agree that if there's an event that happens and it's not on Facebook, Twitter, online somewhere, we don't know about it. So it's important to be able to access those. So we can't talk about internet access without talking about smartphones, because they really go hand in hand. We carry around the internet in our pockets. So this is a lot of information to digest. I'll give you a quick overview. 64% of Americans have smartphones. These numbers are a little old. I think it's actually higher now. These numbers are a year or two old. So of those, 19% don't have consistent internet access beyond their cell phone. What does that mean? That can mean that they don't have access to internet at their home for a variety of reasons. It can also mean that they don't have access to internet outside of their home in terms of like your coffee shops and your libraries and public places that typically provide internet for you. And in addition, 7% of people who were smartphone dependent, meaning they don't have consistent access outside of their phone, don't have internet at home, and they have limited options for access, meaning that they don't have the libraries and the coffee shops around them. And I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you. I'm going to throw one more at you. 19% without consistent internet access comes to about 40 million Americans. So it might sound like an edge case, but it's actually quite a few people. So why are we having this issue with access? The number one predictor of access in your home is your income. That may not be a huge surprise. I can tell you it kind of wasn't to me because it costs money. It makes a lot of sense. So all that to lead into this map. This is a map I made. It is the state of Oklahoma, and these are census tracts. They are colored by income, the darkest being the lowest income, the lightest being the highest income. The orange spots, I don't know if the contrast is very good, if you can see these very well. The orange spots are public libraries. And so you'll notice in the metro, we have quite a few libraries. We also have some of our higher incomes. So if we zoom in a little bit. So I think that's probably like Edmond. I can't see what that says. Can somebody read it to me? Okay, so that is very, very close to the national median income. I think the national median income is 56. So here, and again, you notice there's a lot of orange spots around there. So the drop-off for having internet access in your home is around 30K. You see a really big drop-off in likelihood of not having it in your home once you hit about 30K. The one that this is the one that's always stuck out to me. You notice that it's very, very dark. They're at about less than $7,000 for the median income. And the other thing I want you to notice is, let me X out of this so we can see it. There is one library there. So I tell you all this just to, one, tell you about my project because I think it's really interesting and really, really cool. But also there's other work that I'm doing to kind of bring light to the issue, and this could really easily spin into a talk about offline apps and the importance of them, but it's a lightning talk, so I'll keep it short. This map is available on my GitHub. I will tweet it out right after this, and I can open it up to questions if anybody has any.
What got you interested in this topic?
So it's something that happened to me, actually. I've been programming for a few years now, but when I first learned to program, I learned to program out of a book. And I know that that's probably not super uncommon, but I think for my age group, it's a little uncommon. I lived in a rural area that didn't have, it's not that we didn't have access, it's that it was so expensive, it was just out of the price range. The only thing that we had was satellite internet, and it was very expensive. And I remember, like, I wanted to learn to program, and everyone was saying, like, JavaScript is the way to go. That's what I got started with. I had a computer, but I didn't have internet, but my computer had a browser. So I was able to go into the browser, and I was able to build HTML pages and build in JavaScript, but if I ever had a problem, good luck. There were definitely times where I had to go into town and go to Barnes & Noble and just kind of sit there and figure it out. And it was very difficult. And this extends beyond just the tech industry. This is really anybody who's learning anymore. They need to have access. And so that's what got me interested. That was a long answer. Yeah.
How were you living with your parents when you were starting to do this, or were you already out on your own?
I was living by myself, yeah. I was running a very inexpensive house out in the middle of nowhere. So, what else? Oh.
Sounds like Abraham Lincoln learning the law.
Thank you. Anything else, you guys? All right. Oh, I guess I'll tell you about that. So this is Mapbox. They provide the base layer map, and then I found census data. This is all census data. I did not make it myself, like, good on them for providing this to us, because it is a lot of data. I converted it into GeoJSON, and so I don't know if you're familiar with Mapbox, but they have a Mapbox Studio. It's like a UI interface, and you can add in what are called map layers, and they have to be formatted in this specific GeoJSON. So it started out as some really ugly looking CSV files, converted those into JSON, converted them into GeoJSON, and then added them as a layer. And so that's what you're seeing right here. The blue spots are a layer, and then the orange dots are a different layer. So.
What's the next step for this?
The next step is going to be, I want to start adding in like coffee shops and public places. I wanted to start with libraries because they are one of our last free open spaces. You don't have to pay to be there. If you're already having trouble with finances or anything like that, and you have to go to Starbucks and you have to basically pay, right? And so again, there's that expectation. So I wanted to start here just to show how sparse public spaces really are in terms of a place you don't have to pay to be. And then the next thing I'd like to do is add coffee shops and like your Barnes and Nobles and places like that, because my suspicion is going to be that places, again, like this place where they're less than 7K as their median income, probably not going to see very many of those there because you don't have disposable income. So my suspicion, and it is just at this point a suspicion, is that it's going to compound in terms of being able to access the internet. Yeah?
Do you know where the closest city is that provides free internet access?
For that location?
No, just to where we're at right now.
I don't actually. Do you? I know that I worked in Shawnee several years back, and there's some initiatives to provide like citywide internet, like what you're talking about. I don't know of any cities around here that are doing that.
I think Enid.
Enid?
I think Enid has done citywide.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that would be a solution. Like, I would love to see more cities adopting something like that. That would be a solution for making sure that people continue to have access.
There's a country, I think it's Vanuatu, that the entire country is on is a Wi-Fi
Really?
spot.
That's very cool. What country was it?
I think it's Vanuatu.
Vanuatu. Okay, awesome.
That's not,
All right, any more questions? Ponca City? No kidding. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that and add it to my map. So, okay, well, that's all I have. So thanks everyone for coming.